Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to come on because I had a couple of questions on a previous video on how I made my journal covers. Now this is a technique that I adapted from my album making world, and it's called the lay flat method. I believe Tamara's the one that I learned it from. So you can kind of see the spacing in between the cover, the spine, and the back, but it allows your journal to lay completely flat, and it doesn't add any stress to your seams. One of my all-time favorites. That's the big book of ideas that I'm working on for you guys, but here's a smaller version of it, and you can see how it's put together. So we'll put it together, but this is also another favorite of mine with these elastic cords that you can get at the crafting store. I managed to find a big spool at a thrift shop, but you can see this one doesn't lay completely flat because I doubled in the layers there, but it lays relatively flat considering you can see the signature kind of pulls the cover forward. But we're gonna put it together, and I don't use chipboard, guys. Chipboard is very expensive. I upcycle what I have. I'm just gonna put this back up on my shelf. I upcycle what I have. I used to have a lot of cereal boxes, but my youngest son moved out and he was the cereal fan. So now as I go through my covers for my collections or my paper collections, that's what I've been using. Some of them are thicker than others, but when you layer your paper on top, it thickens it up. So that's what I'm using. And my journals are usually 9x6, so I'm just gonna cut this down to, let's go 6 this way. This way I can get 2 covers out of this. So that's my front and my back cover. And then we're gonna cut that down to 9. So there's 1. So there is my front and my back cover. Let me get rid of the hole. And then I hang on to these pieces. If I want to do like journal charms, I'll die cut or hand punch some shapes and layer them up. But I hang on to that. What do we not hang on to? So there's my front and my back. And then I know it's going to be, my height is 9 inches. So let me just do this right here because I can also get another front and back cover out of that. And I'm going to create my spine out of here. So I think I'm going to want it to be 1.5 because I know I get bulky very fast. I'm going to cut that down to 1.5. That goes in my scrap. And then we're going to bring this to 9. Okay. And this I can easily toss. So there is the beginnings of our book. Now, I have a lot of scrap paper that I'm not really a fan of. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone, but this is not my cup of tea, especially with what I'm doing. And it is one-sided. So I tend to use these pages that I'm not a fan of in a variety of different ways. And if you want to know, let me know. All right, so I'm going to frame these pieces. So I'm going to want an additional inch on all 4 sides. So this was 9x6, so I'm going to cut my paper to be 11x8, and I'm going to need 2 pieces of that. So 8 inches, okay, by 11. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other one, 8 inches. By 11. And then I know that this is 1.5 by 9. So I'm going to want the 1.5, but I also like to give it an additional 1.5 inches so it's trapped nicely under the cover. So that's going to be 3 inches plus 1.5. That's 4.5 by 11. These are going to be too short, so let's bring in this one. So I'm going to need it to be 4.5 by 11. And now we're going to frame our pieces. So here goes my scraps, all in the scrap pile. We are done with that. And we can put this away. Now I have double-sided tape that I get from my local discount store. That is the brand. It's usually, I forgot how many yards. It's kind of on the thick side. It comes like that. It's really, and I only pay $1.30 for it. And this is just a quick little fix just to be able to get it all put together. So I am going to outline this. Sorry for the reach. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite methods for my albums. And when I got into the journaling world, I kind of brought it over. Now you can do it the traditional way where you have your cardstock high bridged, right? And then, you know, you will overlay them like so. And then you can then glue your pieces down. I didn't do that, but both works. It's just I don't like putting that additional stress on the paper that's actually keeping them together. That's my preference, but here we are. I'm showing you how I do my covers. So that's the uglier side. I think I'm gonna put that one on the inside. Everything is gonna get covered anyway. And I'm very generous because I want to make sure that it's down and it holds as I'm constructing everything together. Did I bring my wet glue? No. Okay, and then we're going to do this one. And then I'm going to, just to make sure there's no bubbles or gaps or anything like that, right? So there is that. Finish everything down really well. You could do this with wet glue if you choose. I would probably lean into art glitter glue. You can use a glue stick. I would use a very good glue stick. But yeah. So I want the white side to be what's showing. So I am going to, where's my pick tool? I am going to put the ugly side up so I can, oh my gosh, all these tools and I can't find not one. Okay. I'm just gonna peel all of this off. So I hope everyone is doing well. I really hope this video helps. Like I said, it's my preferred method. But the more you experiment and try, the more you will find what works the best for you. So I'm going to center this as best I can. I'm not going to get hung up on exact measurements. Everything is going to be covered. I'm just going to burnish that really, really well. Now, I have a tool that I got from, where did I get this from? Temu. And it just kind of miters my corners. There's a variety of ways, but I use it. It just makes it easy for me to be able to just come in and do that. Or you could do it yourself and just freehand it, right? So we just want to reduce the bulk. And I always leave a little space in there. that's that. And then I usually take a scoring tool and just kind of help that paper start to mold without trying to crack it. Just give it a score along the edge and then use my spatula to kind of start bringing it up. And I'm just flushing it to that edge, like that. And again, this is all from my my album making days, but a cover is a cover, whether it's an album or a journal. And just by scoring it just makes it easier. I first learned by just taking and flipping, but because this is not really thick chipboard, I like to score first. So I'm gonna get a smaller double-sided tape here. Let's finish this one. And I want this for the edge. You're gonna need some wet glue too, but I like the smaller one up here. And you're also gonna need down here. I always do the long sides first. So I'm gonna do this one with you, and I'm gonna do the spine because the spine is a little different. And I'll do the other cover off camera, the back. Okay. Oh, this one's finished. Very good. Let's grab the next one. It is so satisfying when you finish something. You buy it, and then when you finish it, it's like, yay. Instead of just having it sit here forever. Tape is not something that sits on a shelf too long. Tape and glue. All right, so we're gonna burnish that really well. Okay. And I always start on the long sides. You can start whichever way. It does not make a difference. But I'm gonna flush it, and then in the center, I'm gonna add some wet glue in here. Let's see if my glue is gonna cooperate with me today. Okay, just clear out the nozzle, make sure it's flowing well. Okay. All right, and I'm just gonna add glue in here along that seam. Okay. I'm gonna start in the center, and then I'm gonna work my way out, left to right. Come in, I'm gonna burnish that really good. Spread that glue out. Some excess will come out, that's fine. Just get a clean spot on my rag. Okay, I'm gonna pick that up. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other corner. On the other side, I'm sorry. Okay, that's that. And then we're gonna do the same thing, add some wet glue. Ooh, this pattern's very busy. But yeah, if you're interested in finding out how I use these patterns from these paper collections, I can't remember the last time I bought a paper collection and I loved every page of it. They are out there. I just don't, there's always one or two sheets that I'm not a fan of. Okay, in the middle to the center, and then out left to right. And we're gonna burnish that. Get the excess glue out. Now for the corners, these, you see there's a little bit of overlap there. You're gonna wanna crease it so it will bend. So, got that there. Got that there. Now, if you don't have the tool and you freelanced it, do a dry fit first to make sure that your edges are covered. So mine's are. But if they weren't, this is where you can reuse these little pieces and kind of put them in there. So when you do fold your sides, you're covered on the inside. If you're using like a cereal box that's brown or anything like that, so it wouldn't show. So I don't toss anything until I do my cover and I wrap it. So again, we're gonna add some glue. And this is regular old school glue, PVA glue. That's what I'm using because I'm also doing the double-sided tape. I'm gonna really crease those corners and then come in and then out and give it a good burnish. So then you'll see that your corners, oh, we got glue. Oh, we got more glue. Oh no, I'm just gunking up my paper. But now you see that's gonna get covered. But you see the corners? They're clean. All right, let me get all this stuff out of here. We're gonna do the last one. Now, if you wanted to wrap it with fabric, I do this step first. Let me make sure those corners are creased. And then flushed. Very good. And then we can add the glue. Okay, in and out. Okay, so there is our cover. I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the back off camera, but I'm going to put that off to the side and we're going to do the center spine together. So here is my spine cover and here is the cardboard. I'm going to come in with my tape. I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to grab the thinner one and I'm going to fill it. I'm going to start at the edge and then if I have enough space, I'll do the center. But I think that'll be enough. Okay. Finish that really well. And I'm going to remove the tape. Ugly side facing up. I'm going to center this. I should have did it the other way. Darn it. Okay. I'm going to cover it anyway, but normally I like to keep the ugly side down because if I want to lay fabric, I would prefer the white, but that's okay. I'm going to lay paper. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to center this as best I can in the middle-ish. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to come in and score along the edges just to get that paper to start bending. Burnish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and do it this way. So this is going to come down. And so is this. Okay. And that's what we're going to glue down. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to glue this down. Starting in the center and then working outwards. But when I get along the edge of my spine, the cardboard, I'm going to come in and crease. I want a line and then push up. Okay, so I'm going to give it a good push. I want it flushed up against that edge. So it'll look like that. You see the ledge? Then I'm going to come in. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. I'm going to flush up against it. And then push out. And that's just going to help with the bend that we're gonna need it to do. Okay. So let's do it again. I'm gonna come in and we're gonna glue. Okay. We're gonna come in the center first and then push. So if I scrape, I'll feel the drop along the side, and that's where I'll come in and push. Right? And then push the rest out. Turn it around, come in, let it drop, get flushed right in there, and then push out. So now, that's what we have. And because I use wet glue, I gotta make sure that I keep burnishing so it'll stick together, because it does take a few minutes. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to bend it into itself. So there is the first crease. Here is the second crease. So if you want to do it this way, you can, but I think it's easier going this way. And we're going to push. And there is our spine. I need to let this dry. All right, so I'm going to do the back cover off camera, and then I'll show you how I assemble it. All right, so there we are. My covers are all put together. They're all wrapped. And then we have our spine. So now what I'm gonna do, you're gonna see here, I came really close. I almost didn't make it. They're not as overlapped. So I think this one I'm gonna want on the inside of my spine. Like that, so you don't see it. So everything else will be uniformed. It's gonna be covered anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our spine, we're gonna fold it back, and we're gonna come in and glue, but not all the way to the edge. Right, so we're gonna wanna leave some space. I leave around 1/4 inch because I know I am very heavy-handed with glue, and it's gonna spread. And we're gonna take one of our covers and we're gonna butt it up to it. So it will be like this. So we want it even. If you can see that. Even. Make sure we're even on the other side. Yeah. Make sure. We still got some wiggle room. And then once it catches, very carefully, I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna hold it in place. And I'm just gonna help spread that glue out to make sure that it catches. And there is our front cover. Now, normally, when I'm doing this, I'll grab some binder clips and just pinch them to let them grab. I'll have a spare piece of paper because I want to make sure that they catch very, very well. And I'm not stingy with them. I want to make sure that everything is making contact. And you can see it's closing that gap. I'll make sure it's more towards the edge. And I'm gonna let this sit here for a second or two, just to make sure that that glue is catching. Oops, sorry. Shook the camera. And then we're gonna come and do the same thing on the other side. Do I have some ribbon? Oh, I do have some ribbon. While I'm waiting for that to catch, I'm gonna take a look at this ribbon with you guys. Dollar Tree is getting very expensive now. Oh, I like that. It's gonna be perfect for Someone asked me for a journal and they love pink, and I think this is going to be absolutely perfect. Oh, this is so pretty. Jelly ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Look how pretty. And their ribbon now is like $1.75, guys. Huh. Anywho, okay. So I think this is good to go. Okay, so there we are. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So we're going to bend this back in on itself. And we're going to come in. Okay. I think I went a little too high there. But, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take it and we're going to butt it up to the edge as best you can. Evenly. Okay, make sure you're even top to bottom, side to side. Make sure that it's matching. Give it a minute to catch, and then very gently, we're gonna come in and we're gonna do exactly the same thing. We're gonna spread that glue. Now, if you wanted to cover your journals in fabric, you can easily go ahead after everything is dry and in place. You can do exactly the same thing again. You can then wrap your cover with the fabric. Is that glued now? And that will just reinforce everything a little bit more. All right. Now, I personally, when I do my ribbon closures, I like to put it on top of the cover, because when you're pulling it, it's pulling the cover down instead of, let's see if I got an example here for you. So here, I like to lay my ribbon underneath whatever I'm gonna add. Now, this is a fabric cover. So I did exactly this, and then I came in and wrapped it in fabric. So you can see the layers there. You can see the centerpiece that I added here to cover the spine, and then I added paper. So now this is like super, super thick. And I used it with the same paper pad cover, front and back covers. But I like to lay my fabric, my ribbon closure on top of my cover. So when it's pulling on the cover and not against the paper. So if I did it on the inside, it would be slowly peeling that paper off. So I like to lay it on my front cover, and it comes up to about here. So it's really reinforced in there. And this one comes up to about here. You can kind of feel it under the cover. And then I just wrap everything up. But this is super reinforced now. Adding all the layers. So that's just a little tip on how I like to use my ribbons when I'm closing when I'm deciding what kind of closure I'm gonna want on my journals. I take that into consideration. And if I know that I'm going to use ribbon, then I would lay that here first before I get carried away doing everything. But there is the cover. That's how we did it. That's the lay flat method. Just lays open. And then, of course, I'm going to come in and cover this up. I'll take a piece and just come up that far. And that'll really reinforce my spine. And then I can lay my other pages on the sides. But that's how I do it. I hope that helped. It's the lay flat method. I took it from, I learned it from Tamara, who does a lot of album making. And I just adapted it into my journals because I just absolutely love it. And you can mass make these journals and lay them flat like this and have your covers ready to go. They don't take up any space, and they're perfectly, you're not adding any stress on the hinge. And then you can have journal covers ready to go whenever you need them. So yeah. All right, my friends. So again, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. just drop it down below, and I'll answer them as I see them. All right, have an amazing week, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care now. Bye.